Actually, the first time that I really even noticed anything that was wrong with my sleep was back in 2016. I was on my way to the gym one day and I felt this band of anxiety right underneath my chest. And it was kind of, I was driving in my car and I was thinking, well, this is crazy. Like, what have I got to feel anxious about? I got nothing in my life was wrong. I was running a successful business. My marriage was fine. And I was on my way to the gym. I had no health problems. So I started thinking, well, this has been happening just a little bit too much. And so I went to my doctor and he said, how do you sleep? And I said, oh, I sleep wonderful. I said, as soon as my head hits the pillow, I am out like a light. And he said, do you stay asleep? And I go, oh, no, 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 no. I don't stay asleep. I mean, I wake up around 2 o'clock and I'll stay awake for 2 or 3 hours. And he goes, oh, well, he said, that's probably what's causing you anxiety. And I'm kind of going, yeah, right. So he gave me this medication called Doxepin. And Doxepin apparently was this one sleeping aid that helps you not with the sleep. And I'm using the terms that I didn't know at the time, but it doesn't help with sleep onset, but it helps with sleep maintenance. And that's where my problem was. So I started taking this pill. I started sleeping through the night and my anxiety went away like that. Well, I mean, I put this doctor on God status. I just thought this was absolutely unbelievable. So I'm the kind of person that I am really concerned about my health and I don't like taking medications. I don't want to take the pill. So I kept on trying to go off it and trying to go off it. My daughter kept on telling me, Mom, there's no problem with it. Just stay on it. Just stay on it. And, on 20, I wasn't, when I went off it, of course, my sleep maintenance problems came back. My anxiety didn't come back, but my sleep maintenance problems did come back. And so I knew that I needed to do something. In September of 2021, September of last year, almost a year ago, I decided that I was going to stop taking Doxepin and I was just going to do whatever I possibly can. And so I stopped taking Doxepin, and of course, my sleep maintenance problems came back. Like I still was able to fall asleep very easily, but I would wake up and I would stay awake. And I kept on saying, well, what's the big deal? I was still getting 6-7 hours of sleep a night. I bought myself an Oura ring, and it was, I'm sure you know what an Oura ring is, but I mean, I think they're pretty amazing. And they were giving me sleep scores like in the 90, 92. There was one night I got a 97. So, I mean, that was just like unreal. But what it was doing was when I wake up at 2 o'clock, I don't move. I'm just laying there. I mean, my mind is going a million miles an hour, but I just lay there. So the Oura ring was seeing that as light sleep because they figured that I was sleeping all night. I had a really good score. So I started to recognize that there was obviously something wrong with the Oura ring. I ended up sending it back. And then I started doing a little bit more research and they came to realize, first of all, that I had insomnia. Secondly, that the only cure for insomnia was CBTI. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do a little bit of research on CBTI. So I found this app. And you could sign up for it. I think it was like $200. And they put me through sort of the process that you go through with CBTI. Well, it was disastrous. It was horrible. And because they said that I had to, my sleep window was between, I think like 11:45 to 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, making me go to bed at 11:45 is torture. It was just no way. So anyways, I decided to stop that. And I thought, well, I guess what I needed to do was actually go see a sleep doctor. So that's what I did. I went to my primary care physician and I said, I would like a referral to this sleep doctor. And it was a fellow that was outside of, about an hour outside of where I live. So I get in my car and I drive there and, he said, you definitely do have insomnia. And he said the only solution would be CBTI. He says, but what I want to do is I want to make sure that there is no underlying causes. So he put me through a sleep study. with the PSG. So I went through that, and he looked at the results, and he says, well, you don't have any physiological reasons to why you should be waking up. So he said, and it looks like you are still sleeping 6 hours. And so it's not a bad sleep. But he said, let's put you through the CBTI to see if we can get you to fix the sleep maintenance. Okay, so I started this, and he put my sleep, because I didn't like the sleep window from 11:45 to 6. I said, it's a lot easier for me to get up earlier than it is for me to go to bed later. So he said, well, let's do, I think it was 9:30 to 4. So I tried that, and I did that for 3 weeks. Is what I did is I would go to bed at 9:30, fall asleep immediately, wake up at 1, because I usually was waking up at 2, but now I wake up at 1 o'clock. And of course, the rules are when you wake up, you have to get out of bed, or you have to do something to get yourself sleepy again. So I would get out of bed, I turn the TV on and watch cat videos or something on YouTube, or I try reading. I even made sure that I didn't turn on any of the lights or anything. I was really careful about my sleep hygiene. Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work. So I was sleeping from 9:30 to 1, because I never, ever got sleepy enough to actually feel that I could go back to bed and fall asleep. I never did. So for 3 weeks, I did from 9:30 to 1 o'clock. Well, I was so sleep deprived. I was almost hallucinating. I couldn't drive to Walla Walla anymore. Walla Walla was the place where my sleep doctor was. We had to do it virtually. We had to do it on Zoom rather than me going there. And he just said, and the truth, he was not helpful at all. He says, well, we have to keep trying this or keep trying this. And I kept on saying, I can't do this. I cannot survive being this sleep deprived. I said, my life is just upside down. And he says, well, we don't want to do that. And I go, I know we don't want to do that. But throughout the day, I would, when I got up, like at 1 o'clock, and like as soon as 4 o'clock rolls around, I know that was it. So I, turn my light on, and I would start, try to do housework. I would try exercising. I would try reading. I couldn't read throughout the day because I'd fall asleep. I so desperately just wanted to have a nap, but I knew that I couldn't. So I kept on saying, well, at some point, I am going to be so sleep deprived, I am going to sleep all night. It never happened. What happened in the meantime was the sleep onset. That was the one prize that I had, is that I know when I went, when I went to bed, I would fall asleep immediately. And what was starting to happen was my wake ups wasn't starting at 1 o'clock. I was starting to wake up at like 11:30, 11 o'clock, 10, 10:30. Eventually, I just didn't get to sleep. So not only did I have sleep maintenance, I developed sleep onset as well. And I was telling my doctor this, and he said, well, now that you've got sleep onset problems, he said, what do you think caused that? And I'm kind of going, because, the 3 Ps of insomnia. And he said, there has to be something that happened that created you not being able to fall asleep. And I'm kind of going like, do you think maybe it's been my CBTI that created that? And he says, well, I don't think so. So anyways, I just decided, nope, I'm not going to have any more to do with this. And I just drop kicked CBTI altogether. I did find a sleep coach who helped me a little bit. And I have now this was in March, and I am now in the process of trying to get my sleep back. Oh, I'm sorry. There was one other thing that happened. Because I was so sleep deprived and not able to sleep, I'm going to back up just one more. When I started this, I said that I was not going to use my doxepin. My doctor said, you can either do this with doxepin or not. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it with doxepin, because the whole reason for doing this is to get off of the doxepin. So I started my whole CBTI without doxepin. Within about 3 weeks, I figured I am obviously not sleeping. So I need to see what I can do. So I started my doxepin again and it quit working. It wasn't working anymore. So within that 3-week period, I was not sleeping and I was still on doxepin. So when I decided to drop this all, I was terrified that I had really screwed my sleep up so badly that this is the way I was going to be for the rest of my life. The doxepin wasn't working. In the meantime, I had tried trazodone, I had tried CBD, I had tried it all, and none of it was working. So when I actually quit CBTI, I was in a state where, oh my God, I have really screwed up my sleep royally, and I don't know if I'm ever getting it back. So I'm now currently in the process of getting my sleep back, and it is starting to normalize a little bit. I still have, like last night, I had a really bad night, but I mean, I guess, when you really get down to it, I think everybody has bad nights at some point. But I'm back on my doxepin. My sleep hasn't completely normalized, but it is starting to get better than it was like in March. So CBTI for me was one of the worst things that I have ever done to myself. I mean, I know that I read about CBTI and so many people are saying that it's just wonderful and it's helped them so much. And I have got girlfriends who don't sleep well that I know that they've got insomnia, and they ask me, well, what can I do? And I keep saying, well, CBTI probably is about the only thing you can do, that or sleeping pills. So, and CBTI didn't work for me. And I preface this with saying, it didn't work for me. That doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. It didn't work for me. And I don't know if it was a combination of me, my personality, my doctor. I don't know. I don't know why it didn't work. All I know is that it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. I have not had my anxiety back. So even throughout this entire CBTI fiasco, I did not have my anxiety. The band, I mean, I know because I have this band underneath my chest, and I recognize it like quite readily. Because I mean, if I have to go do public speaking or something like that, or if I'm going into a real important meeting, I can feel it. So I know what it feels like. No, that's a good question. No, it did not. It did not. And when I quit my doxepin in September of 2021, it never came back either. So whether the sleeping caused my anxiety or not, I mean, I guess I don't know, but I mean, when I went on doxepin in 2016, my anxiety did go away when I started sleeping. So, there's got to be some kind of correlation there. Well, I think, like I said before, I mean, there's only one solution. If you don't want to do sleeping pills, there's only one solution for insomnia, and that's CBTI. And I would say give it a try, because just because I had a bad experience does not mean everybody does. Everybody's experiences with cognitive behavior therapy is going to be different. So I would suggest give it a try. Give it a try, but make sure that it would be wonderful to be able to pick a doctor who knew what you were going through, because the sleep coach that I ended up finding, she was somewhere in Scotland, and she helped a lot, and she had been through it. She understood the struggle. And so she was able to help me a lot. But I think finding somebody that understands the struggle, because if you wake up, you have to get up, you have to get out of bed. And which that's actually, I do that now. I know last night, for some reason, I had a hard time getting to sleep. And I know it was I went to bed at 9:30. And I don't have a clock in my my bedroom, so I got up and went into the bathroom, and I saw that it was 11 o'clock. And well, I guess maybe I better get up. So I got up and I read for a while. Did not feel sleepy at all. And I said, well, I'm going to go to bed. And I did eventually fall asleep. And I know I would. I know if I laid there long enough, I would fall asleep. But I don't want to perpetuate that type of behavior. I don't want to perpetuate me laying in bed not sleeping. So, and they say when you get out of bed or you do something that makes you sleepy, that will kind of alleviate that behavior. So that's why I did it. And I ended up having a half decent sleep. I never got up to 7 o'clock. I usually get up at 6 o'clock, but I had a half decent sleep and I felt fine when I woke up. So, but yeah, I just think that would be, I think that'd be incredible if doctors just even tried everything for 3 weeks. See what it's like, because it's really hard. It's really hard. I'm sure you get that. I'm sure you hear most patients say that, how hard CBTI is. I can't figure out why it didn't, and that bothers me a lot that it didn't work for me. And because like it didn't matter how sleep deprived I got, I still wasn't sleeping through the night. I ended up doing it, I think, I stuck with it for about 6 weeks. And there was one day that I went out with my daughter because I knew that I had to get out of the house because I just had to, because if I stayed here, I know that I was going to end up having a nap, and I know that I wasn't supposed to do that because I'm definitely a rule follower. If you tell me that I need to do something, I'm going to follow the rules. And I sure tried. And my daughter just like, she saw what I was going through and she just says, Mom, this is crazy. You've got to stop this. You've just got to stop this. So I said, okay, I did. And I started going to bed when I felt sleepy, and I got up when I felt I needed to get up. And so that whole compression or the whole sleep deprivation, I just said I just couldn't do it anymore. And the sleep coach that I used, it was interesting. She didn't use the word sleep deprivation, which I thought was really good. She called it sleep compression. And that, the words really matter. I think using the word sleep compression rather than sleep deprivation when you're describing CBTI, I think that really helps a lot. I think everybody that administers CBTI to somebody, they should do it themselves first. You've got, as a healthcare provider giving this, I do believe you've got to understand on how hard CBTI is. And on sleep deprivation has got to be one of the most torturous things you could ever do to a human being. I think everybody, if you're going to give CBTI to somebody, you should actually go through it yourself to understand what they're going through. Because there's words just don't describe it. I mean, there's just absolutely no words that could describe on how much torture I was going through.